as we mentioned a little earlier, we are going to be picking the official greatest Kerry Dublin team since the year 2000.
How official is this going to be?
This is official.
Who's the final say on
Marc Ó Sé and the crowd get the casting vote.
So that's
what
500 Kerry people and Mark.
Paddy, you're in the bear pit.
You're in Kerry now.
Yeah. Oh, so we're going to be presenting two different teams now. Paddy and James haven't seen each other's teams yet. They're very different. And myself and Mark...
We won't either, because the screen is broke.
I'll give you my laptop. There's
no Wi-Fi down here, is there?
We'll be taking a break in about 20 minutes' time as well, so you can grab a pint or go to the bathroom as well. We're here with thanks to AIB, who've also given us 2 pairs of tickets to the Munster final this weekend. So if anyone wants to get involved in the debate a little later on, if you want to put your hand up, Catherine will be going around with the mic. You can make a pitch for one player. You're only going to have 30 seconds to make a pitch. And if you can convince Mark to put that player into your team, you get the tickets to the Munster final this weekekend.
Well, all right.
Yeah, we're looking forward
to
it.
So pick Mark, Tomas or Dara and you're
They're nailed on, James. You'll have to go elsewhere.
I think we'll get into this now. Paddy, can we have a look at Paddy Andrews' team, please? You can put it up on screen. Paddy, I'd imagine you forget your team, so I'll go through it.
I do, and I can't see this.
Okay, I'll give you my laptop here. So Paddy Andrews has managed to come into Killarney and go for 9 dubs in his team.
9 dubs.
Go through that there, and we'll have a look at James's after.
Right. So this is since 2000, right? So we caveat this. You lads won 5 in the noughties, and Dublin never betches. We won 8. 8 in the teens, and ye never beat us. And then you've obviously won in 21. So by right, we're looking at the facts here, because that's facts. Dublin should have more players than this.
Like Rafa Benitez there. Have the facts.
So on goal, it was either Clucko or David O'Hanlon, and it settled on... Clucko's just nicked it, just in case.
This will be a long night.
Put Mark in because he's here. Moynihan, obviously Moynihan's a legend. Like, it was him or Rory O'Carroll, really. Like, Rory was great for us, but Moynihan's the man. Mick Fitz was our go-to man. I know, it seemed this was going on Twitter, wasn't it? A lot of people talking about Johnny Cooper, Philly Mack. Fitzy was the man marker for us. Put Tomas in because Mark is here. Oh, this is working. Centre back, Keane O'Sullivan was massive for us. Jack is obviously nailed on. I have to say, I was going to put Dara in because Mark is here as well. But James and Bento, Paul Flynn is going to Flynn or Connolly for me. Connolly was the most talented player we had by a mile. I think Connolly and Clifford are the 2 most talented players I've ever seen, naturally, like.
You left him out?
I did, yeah, just because...
How did you leave him out of that?
I thought Paul Flynn was more reliable. Paul Flynn won 4 All-Stars in a row, as that Dublin team were only starting to become the Dublin team that they would over the next decade. You'd have him in your team for anything. You do anything with Paul Flynn. He developed his game as well. Declan O'Sullivan's nailed on. I presume we all have Declan then, do we?
Yeah.
And who did I put?
Kilkenny 12. And then
Kilkenny or Galvin, yeah, it was tight, but Kieran's me mate. So
You'd have Flynn ahead of Kilkenny, would you? Would you have Paul Flynn ahead of...
Probably now, but Kieran's still got another 3 or 4 years left. They're different players. Like, Kieran is more probably a centre for. Paul Flynn was like, along with Galvin, that iconic up and down for Brian Dooher as well.
If Kilkenny had played 14, would we be talking about him in a different sense?
I think that's I think it's a credit to him because he was like a Clifford scorer, underage. Like from under 14 in Dublin, everyone knew about Kilkenny. He was an animal scorer. And he adapted his game because we didn't need him in there at the time.
Yeah, that's probably what you needed was a fella to control
to link the play, and that wasn't his natural thing. So that's what I think he's an incredible player. And he would have got a bit of stick from kind of people looking going. He slows things down, but we needed the way we wanted to play. He was the ultimate team player and controlling the game, pace of the game.
I left Kilkenny out of my team because he never had those unbelievable moments that a Connolly had. Or a Galvin had. Like he had.
But we didn't want him to do that.
I know, but like.
And he didn't need to do that. He could have done it because he has the talent. He has the talent to do it. But Dublin needed. He was totally selfless in how he would play the game, and it mightn't meet everyone's taste, but he will control. And for a young guy, he was a young guy coming into that team with Brogan and Flynn and Connolly, and he will control the game. And it's now. You talk about the evolution of a team. We're all fucking washed up now, like. But himself and Fenton, they're now leading that team, and Khan.
He started 13 centre forward, didn't he? Was he 18
He was
or
a
19?
kid, yeah, him and Jack.
Very young.
And I think they both got taken off. But and that could be a massive thing for an underage star to come up in the biggest game. Probably didn't go as well for him and comes back and wins. Jeez, 5 or 6 All-Stars.
Your full forward line is Gooch, Bernard, and David Clifford. We'll debate this after. Let's have a look at James.
I just want to settle on this now,
Yeah.
right? Because this was a tough decision. I know we're changing this. Gooch is obviously in. Burnout was our out-and-out scorer. And the last one, it was like straight up shootout, 50-50, myself or Clifford. And I thought, he's younger, he's got a few more years, and we're in Killarney, so I said, there'll be a fucking riot in this place. if we don't
Mostly the
put
Killarney
Clifford
thing,
in.
yeah.
So Clifford just nipped me, but I presume you have me in your team, do you?
No, let's have a look at James O'Donoghue's team now.
Before you get on to that, you want to give Paddy, tell him where the exits are, because having 9 fellas on is absolute sinful.
James, run us
That's
through your
my
team.
team.
It's a very similar defence, is it? Or you've gone for Keane O'Sullivan cornerback?
I went
We
with
both
Keane
had Keane in.
O'Sullivan. Huh?
We
No,
both
hang on.
Keane in, yeah.
I went with Keane O'Sullivan. Yeah, you went Keane O'Sullivan centre back. He wore.
He's not a cornerback.
He wore a cornerback jersey a lot, but I put Keane O'Sullivan in because he was your kind of sweeper.
He was
he
so
didn't
important
have
to us.
straight
Yeah.
out. He didn't have the best markers like Kerry did.
Fitzy.
I don't. He had a Marc Shea or a. Tom
Fitzy was
Sullivan.
our mark, but without the...
Yeah,
Going
and
forward,
Fitzy's
so.
unbelievable career, 100%. But I wouldn't have had him in that level. So I put Keane O'Sullivan cornerback.
Yeah.
Where's
the team
Can I get the team back up there? I went with I picked first of all. I picked the Dubs. I definitely wanted to have in. So I had Cluxton. I picked their best 6, and I see can I fit any more in? Cluxton, Keane O'Sullivan, James McCarthy, McCaffrey,
Yeah.
Fenton, Dear McConnelly.
Connolly.
The backbone of the team, in my opinion.
You're-
Because I thought that.
5 Kerry forwards.
That stands out.
But I think that Dublin were more kind of a system-based team, whereas Kerry had individual brilliance up front, with Gooch, Donaghy, Declan Sullivan,
Donaghy?
and now Clifford. I picked Donaghy.
Is Donaghy here?
Our second special guest is.
Fuck, he's
No,
there.
I picked Donaghy
Tatler Jacks
because
later on, like.
in opposition to Kilkenny, right? And I think Kilkenny is an awesome player for
So who are you putting in
But
Kilkenny? Galvin?
I put hang on, I'll go Donaghy first.
Okay.
I put Donaghy in because he had unbelievable moments in games. Even if you think back,
Yeah,
in
no,
All
he
Ireland
did, yeah.
finals, he got a goal.
He got you a few scores, James.
He
He
did.
got you
He
player of the
said,
year, like.
he catch it, leave it out. He wasn't calling the mark.
Lay it off, lay it off,
That's
lay it
because
off.
they kicked the mark wide.
I know, yeah.
But if you
Right
think
there.
back, even his unbelievable moments against Armagh in
06.
06, like where
Nancy
he caught it
Donnelly,
on
yeah.
Bellew and then gave the goalkeeper a bit. I remember being up in Croke Park, and like that gives you such a rush there. His goal against Mayo as well, the same, where he caught it on Cafferkey, I think, and buried it into the roof of the net in the All-Ireland final.
We'd
And he
always
got
say,
2 goals
on it,
against
right?
Cork in the All-Ireland final. Like he's
We
a big game.
we
big
target players if we were playing you guys, obviously, who every team has iconic leaders in their team and they make big plays. Like might be the best players every time.
Yeah.
But I think was it Darren's favourite, the hammer.
Hammer to hammer.
Yeah, that was it. And we would play ye and Donaghy was.
Donaghy was the hammer.
You could just know he wasn't the most he wasn't the most technically talented player, but he exactly what you're saying, a moment's player. If Donaghy did something big, it was worth more to you guys than Gooch or yourself clipping a score. It was like the crowd were in.
Yeah,
Ye were all in.
100%.
He was
It
like
was a
just
crowd.
an influencer of a team. We had Connolly was our big one. No, none of us knew what the fuck Connolly was ever going to do. But if he did something, the hill would explode.
Yeah.
It's back to Crow Park again. But we would fit. There's just players in a team that you will feed off, and we would always be like, don't let Donaghy do something.
Yeah, but I'm actually coming at this from an interesting one because like those Galvin, Declan, Gooch, and Donaghy were like our heroes, and we got to play with them then. So you see them as these legends, but then you see them as teammates, and you kind of see
a
that
cool
they actually
experience
carry it
though,
through.
isn't
It's a great experience.
Yeah.
So they actually live up, when they live up to that, they go up in your estimation even more. So the second one that you're saying that is not a dodgy one, but you could argue Galvin or Kilkenny maybe
Or Flynn.
Galvin
Galvin's back,
was
yeah.
unbelievable.
But
like
I-
in terms of getting the crowd involved,
You know
being-
you're
being a
mercurial
dirty
because you've Galvin and Connolly in who are both fucking mercurial. Like. You can never rely on them. They do some magic stuff. But
No, you
they
couldn't
did
rely
some-
on Galvin. He was tough as nails. He'd do anything to protect you. Come up with a score. The best player ever under a break. Like, as in, he defined breaks.
Yeah.
And he had a
They're
cynical
good
side.
teams, like.
Great player.
Let's have a look at Paddy's team one more time with his 11 dubs. Mark, you had 11 carries
wasn't
in your
11.
team. Can I get 9 dubs, 6? Can I get your thoughts on Paddy's team here and what changes you'd make?
What changes I'd make? I suppose
Dermot
I'd
O'Keefe
leave
in
Clucks
goal.
in there and I'd say we'd change the rest.
Would you have me in over you, a cornerback?
Would I have? No, do you know what?
Henry.
I'd take myself out of it. I'd throw Tom O'Sullivan Ratmore in. I think he was absolutely incredible. Mike McCarthy from Kilcommon, my God, like, I mean, he was so... You
Cornerback
talk-
or centre back, though?
play him anywhere. You talk about, like, and this is the beauty about it. You look back at the team, you look back at teams and how versatile are players. How can you put players in different positions? Seamus Moynihan could play any place between 2 and even 12. He actually came on the 0-4 final in 12. He was injured the whole year.
Full forward, Glenn Flesk.
If you
Yeah,
go
but
back-
obviously his best position was in the backs. You see, he was just incredible. What a leader, but just the way he read the game. He was brave. He was brilliant over his head. He was like, when I started off in that Kerry team, I was number 2. He was number 3. I was like a sponge, just trying to learn everything I could from. And it was Paddy that said it to me. He said, watch that man, he said, learn as much as you can from him. And that's what I would try and do, be it blocking down, be it his catching, whatever he was doing. So he's in there. Mick Fitzsimons is a great footballer, and like in terms of man marking, he's unbelievable. He's got 8 All-Ireland medals.
Well, Mark, that's what I put up because a couple of dubs are on to be with this. Obviously, Philly McMahon is a very popular Dublin player and was hugely influential for us at times. Johnny Cooper was excellent as well, but probably more in the Keane O'Sullivan role. From the Dublin perspective, Fitzy was our guy. From within the team, it was like he marked Gooch in 11, did a better job than I did. But every time we played the biggest teams, and like Fitzy had a year or two with injuries and he wasn't starting. He came back. He's won 2 or 3 All-Stars since. He was the man. Fitzy were playing X, Y, and Z. And I tell you, if Dublin play Kerry later this year, he's older than me. Fuck's sake. He'll be the man on Clifford.
Nah, he get
I'm telling you, he
absolutely
will.
roasted by Clifford.
Say that again, James.
But isn't that the...
Say it again for the people in the back.
So you're giving Cliffy his dues now. But
Where was he?
that's
where was
why
he,
you have Fitzy
Where was he
in.
this weekend? Was he injured?
He's a bit of a knock, yeah.
Okay.
He was playing club football, wasn't he?
He's only coming back.
He didn't make the panel.
He's very quiet about that one.
Marky Clifford.
Bit of a knock.
But if you were saying, because Mark, you have the final say on this somehow, in the fucking credibility of this team, Mark gets to pick it. Before you get to that, who are your 3 absolute nailed on? When this was sent to you, go.
Well,
I'll tell you, he's in, and he's
The
in.
one thing I'm going to say, now,
Genuinely.
can we get the team up there again for a second? I'm looking at Paddy's team there. There's 3 fellas with blue jerseys that are Kerrymen. Bernard Brogan, Brian Fenton, and Cian O'Sullivan.
Wow.
Now look, that's as they say, Shinshki Lila Paddy. But anyway.
What was that? I'm from the north side.
Look, do you know, this is the beauty about teams. Whatever team you throw out there, it's all opinions. That's why, like, the All-Stars down through the years, they're so
They're
controversial.
not worth the bollocks.
They're
tell you what, though.
controversial.
There was a lot of... we put this up on Twitter, and there's a lot of agreement over a few positions. Mark, cornerback yourself. But the half-back line, Tomas, James McCarthy, Jack McCaffrey, seems to be
nailed on.
nailed on
That
for a lot
can't
of people.
be, yeah.
Dara and Fenton in midfield seems to be everyone's. That just seems like the perfect balance in midfield.
Yeah.
You've Dara in the air and Fenton as the modern midfielder.
But Dara
And-
was only 6'1",
No.
and like,
Dara was
probably the
brilliant.
best
Yeah, that's right.
aerially, the best aerially nearly ever.
Where did
There's
that
been
come from?
6'3",
Kicking-
6'4",
if you look at that-
he was
Kicking
beating there.
ability as well, James. I mean, if I was marking Gooch in training, or if I was marking Mike Frank in training, there was 3 fellas, and Moynihan would have been further back. Say he would have been in the full back line. But if Tomas, Dara, Galvin got the ball, you knew they were going to put it perfect inch pass into the likes of Gooch. So like their kicking ability as well.
Isn't that the point we're making, Mark? It's not just every one of those players whether it's my team, your team, or whatever the fuck you settle on later on, they could all play, and they're brilliant footballers. They're hard as fuck. They work their balls out for the team. That team, and even your team, Jimmy, was Kerry heavy. They would never lose a championship match. No one would beat them. And that's only the last 23 years of the best of us and the best of you guys.
It's so true. It's very difficult to pick it. I'd love to know what your full forward line would be. As somebody who would have marked them in training and in the big days.
My full forward. You want?
Just give us an idea of it before. Just go for it.
Well, you see,
Little teaser.
the Gooch obviously is nailed on for me. He's number one. You know, he was just incredible. Like, he came in. We were talking there about Gooch. He came in and he was only 18. I remember his first game was against Laois. Yeah,
Division 2 final.
Division 2 final. The Hailstones that same day, but he was 18 and he was, I suppose, 10 stone. But like, by God, could he mind himself? It was incredible. Brave, could catch a ball over his head, left leg, right leg.
Yeah,
he was just incredible. So for me, Gooch is number one. Like, Donaghy obviously was an unbelievable footballer. I suppose, unfortunately, we have to bring a dub into it. I had some battles with Bernard Brogan, like incredible battles. Now, I was kind of going this way, and he was still going that way. 11 was probably the one where it probably broke even. 13, he definitely got the better. And, you know, I was going downhill. I was 36 my last day out, actually, wearing a Kerry jersey.
Is that 16?
Yeah, 2016 was the 100th anniversary of the
league final.
The league final, yeah.
We played you guys.
Easter Rising, and it was the day of my birthday. I was 36. I got absolutely cleaned from Bernard Brogan the same day, and the writing was on the wall then. But like, he was just a bit like that. He was left leg, he was right leg, and you know, I definitely believe this when Pat Gilroy came in. Bernard would even say this, Joe, that his work rate completely changed. He was a hard worker off the ball then. You know, before that, he was just a fella maybe like the Ronaldo who wanted to just to get the scores and not do the hard work. But afterwards, he was completely different.
But that 2009 game, Thomas Williams marking him and eats him. I don't think he touches the ball the whole game.
2009,
the
yeah.
bloodbath.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And it was like,
I know how that feels. Tom Sullivan was reckless.
he was
Unbelievable.
Pace.
phenomenal player.
David Clifford has to get in as well. So
Already?
I think so.
I know it's a stupid question.
I mean, you say already, but he's there since 18.
Yeah.
You know, so he's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So
Is Cliff in 10 years' time? What is he going to be like?
The manager of that team.
well, look,
Manager
the only thing
that,
I'll
but
say, the only thing I'll say that like you're talking
That
about a
age.
team here that like you're looking at, say, who you have, and I go back to it. It's all about opinions. But the one thing I think that, like, I was on the phone today with Alan Brogan. The poor fella was nearly crying when he saw the team.
I about 8 missed calls off him. He's like, what happened to this fucking team?
And he said, like,
not now, Alan.
He said, if Declan O'Sullivan is on that team before me, he said, it's a disgrace. And I said, listen, Declan O'Sullivan was the best centre forward I ever played with. Now, he's a bit distraught above in Dublin. I'll give him a buzz after show, see is he okay.
Do you know what
But,
he started throwing Bernard under the bus, and he's like, at least put me in ahead of Bernard. I was like,
But
can't do that either, Alan.
I said back to him, I
Anyone
said,
else?
Alan, you only played in one final. He says, you came on in 15, all right, you scored a great score. And he sent me on the score then that he kicked, like, in the final.
It's a screensaver.
But it does.
Just on a loop.
And he, every now and again, when things are kicking off between the two of us, he'll send on that score that he got. But, like, the only thing I'd say about every player that's on this team, I think longevity has to come into play. Can you do it year after year after year after year? Some of the players that are mentioned there, like, they've, like, the Dubs now, the 8 All-Irelands that the Dubs won, a lot of those are in the space of, like, say, 9, 10 years. Do you know? Like, say, you're looking at some, like, say, the likes of Moynihan, Dara, 15,
But they done it in the 90s.
16,
or
17. I'd say Moynihan
Their best years are probably
played for
before
17 years.
2000.
17 years for Kerry, do you know?
But you talk about longevity. What was it about some of you boys? Like, you have your joint record with Tomas, 88 championship appearances. Paddy had an unbroken record from the 70s through to the 80s of starting matches all the time. Dara as well. What are you drinking out in West Kerry?
Guinness.
Pints lying.
We drank a lot of milk.
But what is it about that? Was it, you were hardy, like. There's
I
something
don't know.
about the longevity.
I don't know.
too.
Maybe it's genes. We drank a lot of milk growing up. We ate well. I don't know. Sometimes I think you're lucky. You're just lucky with injuries. Do you
Hold
know?
on.
I don't know.
You're
I genuinely
talking
don't
total
know.
shite there now.
I'm not.
I don't
I
like
think,
bigging
I
up
think
Mark.
he just
but
defined
I,
sports science there today.
I have to say, from a Dublin perspective, yourself, Tomas, Dara, for you guys to play at that level for that long, and this is a team competing to win the ultimate prize. It's not in a smaller county where it might be a bit easier. Everyone's trying to get your spot. And it's the same with some of those Dublin guys. They're friends of mine, but the respect I would have for someone to do it year on year with the competition in the top counties of everyone wanting your jersey for decades and be the man is incredible. That's the only nice thing I'm ever going to say about you. We're
I know,
GAA
but I go
golf
back
fans
to it.
now,
I go
but
back to it. There is a bit of
genuinely.
luck involved. My eldest brother Fergal, he was captain of the Kerry Miners, tore his cruciate, got injury after injury after injury, probably more talented than any one of us. So like, you know, you sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. I think of all of us, Dara was the only fella that actually I missed a final as well. I missed the 15 final with a hamstring, even though I passed the fitness test the night before. I still wasn't put on, but anyway. But Dara,
Who was the 15th?
he broke his metatarsal against Derry in 0-4 semi-final, so he missed the 0-4 final. But other than that, we were very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
But I will say, Tom, in this day and age, you look at Clifford, right, and you're looking at longevity. Like for him, even I heard during the week, he's not on social media, which is so fucking important because there'd be fellas at him going, "You are the greatest of all time." Like how
You had that,
soft
didn't
that could be, how soft that could be for his.
You set up
for
a
his
load of
mind.
fake Twitter accounts yourself, didn't you? James,
I
James
set up a
Dunn
David
was
Clifford
flying
account so
today.
I could get the praise of him. But no, but like say, if he was to expose himself to that sort of coverage and attention, it could soften him a bit and kind of take a bit of longevity off him. Like back in Mark's time, which is a very, very, very long time
No
ago.
social media back then.
Like there
no
was
internet
no
back then.
there was no podcast, there was no social media. Do you know what I mean? Like not that it was easier, but it's more intense now for fellas. And the fact that he's made that call to absolutely bow out of that scene is definitely going to stand stand him in good stead as he
The
goes on.
ability to focus.
Yeah.
Because of all the pressure on, like you're talking about superstar GA players, like J.O. in the 90s, Morris Fitz for you guys, then Wade Burdett for
Morris
the
Fitz, another player who should be on
Morris
the team.
Fitz, but he's kind of at the end of that. But Cliffy now is like, there's so much attention on him, so much pressure, and he's only a young fella. Do you know what I mean? And for him to keep that level up, he's delivering every single time he plays. You'll see on Sunday again. He's the key to Kerry for the next 10 years to do it. It is incredible because it's so easy for young people to be
Again,
distracted.
Paddy, the only thing about that, he is, and he's going in the right direction. But from a Kerry point of view, you just be hopeful he stays injury free. That's the big
But
thing.
isn't that the interesting thing with all the top teams this year? We've said it. I think for the All-Ireland race, I'd have 3 teams in the top bracket who genuinely win it. Dubs, Kerry and Galway.
That's your order.
No, I think it's so even between the 3 of them. I think the next tranche down will be Derry, Mayo, Tyrone, Armagh maybe. I don't think they'll win it, but they could beat one of the big teams.
You usually the Razzies?
Rossies are in the tier below that. but any one of those top teams, if Clifford gets injured, the impact it had for Dublin last year in the semi-final, take Shane Walsh out of Galway. It's so tight in this year's All-Ireland. That's why I think it's an incredible championship ahead, but it's no different for if Kerry lose Clifford, that's a catastrophe. But you could say the same for any one of the other top teams. The margins are so tight. It's going to be an incredible 8 weeks ahead.
Before we head to the break, James,
Yeah.
Marc Ó Sé, when you broke into the Kerry team, you probably marked him a little bit.
Yeah.
You probably had that task. Tell me why he deserves to be in this team.
Well, I when I started with Kerry, I used to come in and it was all AVB games at the time. So once you hit the stadium in the summer, it was AVB. I'd say twice a week, Mark. Was it like you pay an hour of football on your direct opponent every second night in training, probably?
Isn't it
and
gas
every
how
time.
little teams do that now? I couldn't believe.
Yeah.
That's all we did. Match,
I think
match,
it is a
match,
bit
match.
outdated now. And it probably for this fucking reason. I went so bad because I used to get a kick off Mark. And if I didn't have Mark, I'd have Tom Sullivan. And like, I was, 19, and I was being bait out to 60% of balls. I was getting frustrated. I wasn't playing with the club. the boys were laughing at me.
It was
you
like
know,
that clip we
it
seen
was-
earlier in the under 12.
Same as Fionn Fitzgerald, yeah. But like to have that experience of being absolutely out of your depth, it makes you accelerate your development, because otherwise you're going to drown. And definitely did help me. But in terms of exposure to the best markers, possibly in the game between Mark and Tom, like it was an unbelievable education. And I honestly don't think that any other team had fellas of that caliber. They always had extra bodies, but Kerry could just leave the boys at it and put pressure on the ball out the field, and the boys would be fine. It was some advantage.
Did you think he'd make it?
I did. I get uncomfortable with that kind of talk, but I mean, I think James, you knew when
6 more
James,
points.
You told me to say it in the green room before we came up.
when James,
He's reading off a teleprompter here.
when he came in first, like he was kind of like the cocky Tony, like, but we
No,
we
I
knew,
don't believe that.
We knew there was the substance behind it, and you know, we saw him with the Sam, and we saw him underage with Kerry. There was a minor blip, all right, against Cork, wasn't there? In the
A record defeat, 25 points.
there was, but like in saying that,
21 game.
saying that, like it was, we knew that James was the real deal, and we were excited. Then the fact like that we had a player who could complement the Gooch, you know, who could be there, and like so good was James that Fitzmaurice decided to tinker with our system and put Gooch out onto the 40, which allowed us. And I mean, like that game against Dublin in 13, like the sequence of plays there where Donncha Walsh is involved, James is involved, Gooch is involved. Like, I mean, you'd be trying to teach players how to play the game.
Lads, you laugh at this, right?
That's heads up football, just moving the ball.
Your goal, Gooch's pass, where he's soloing backwards, pops it into Donncha, I think, and pops it to you, and you scored a goal. We spent, oh my, you fuck me. After that match, 2 weeks, hours on end at training, talking about Keane O'Sullivan was standing here, and we'd pause it for about fucking 2 hours and go, you should be one step over. And we're and Cluck goes in the background, you fucking should. I was like, oh my God, 2 weeks for that goal. We go, we won the fucking match. But that's how detailed we were about that system and stopping it. And you kind of just literally, I can't remember who said it, might have been Kev Mack or someone, just goes, that's one of the best things that's ever happened in GAA. Sometimes you can't defend it. And it was Gooch moonwalking backwards and still putting a pass through like a yard space to you, to a goal. And it was like, that's what we looked at you guys. And so few people can do
Paddy,
those things.
Mikey Sheehy, he used to always say it, like, you know, and he was the selector. You could nearly say the forwards coach would Kerry. And he said, like, if you have the likes of James, if you have the likes of Paul Galvin, if you have the likes of Gooch, you don't have to tell these fellas what to do with the ball. They're natural, they just do it. But getting back to the Dubs and what Paddy is saying there is very insightful, because, like, I had this chat with Paddy last week. They spent hours upon hours in you know, their attention to detail on the opposition, on their own style of play, the defending. You know, we all heard, you know, where Mick O'D came in the 70s and he just brought it to a new level. When Dublin came there, they brought it to a new level. Like they did, like, and geez, like what they did was just frightening. And obviously, you know, you have to have the players to complement that. But when you have the players and you bring it to that attention level of detail, you know, you're going to win All Ireland.
We're going to segue over now to our team of the decade and the big reveal. You're going to make your decisions. We actually have a question from the crowd. Eamon Breen. I think he wants to have a word here, Catherine. So is Eamon good to go?
Sorry, Tom Walsh is my name, but I think Eamon Breen.
Not even close.
Eamon Breen should be on the team, in my opinion.
I was expecting his shoulder there for a second.
Sorry, Tom.
You would always see it coming from Eamon anyway, in fairness. But, sorry, I will stand up. But I think there was too many O'Sheas in the team, so I thought there was room for a knock.
So I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I'll meet you for a pint after.
Maybe on a serious note, Aidan O'Mahony probably is one person that is omitted, and he marked some of the best forwards.
Without a doubt.
Wasn't he man of the match in
Listen,
back-to-back finals?
that's the Jackeen's team now, you have to remember, okay? So, like, I mean, when, the team I played with, I mean, we had Dermot Murphy in goal. There was myself, Mike McCarthy, Tom O'Sullivan, Tomas, Seamus Moynihan, Aidan O'Mahony. You had Dara, you had Scanlon, Kirby, Tommy Griffin in the middle field. You wouldn't get much change now out of that, I can tell you. And Aidan O'Mahony, the one thing I'd say about Aidan, any day, the big day that he took to the field, and like none more so than the 2014 final. James, you were there for that. Like, you know, he did it with McDonald in 0-6. Kieran McDonald scored against the Dubs. He was possibly the reason Dublin beat Mayo, or Mayo beat Dublin in the semi-final in 0-6. Mahoney kicked 2 points off him from centre back. In 2014, the night before the final, we had a meeting, and Mahoney told us inside in the meeting, he said, listen, he said, I'm marking Murphy tomorrow. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to beat Michael Murphy. Once everyone else inside in the room here does his job, we'll win the All-Ireland. So for me, if you have a player like that that'll go through the wall for you, you'll win a lot.
What's it like in the room when he says that?
Oh, jeez, you could hear a pin drop. It's unbelievable. We used to end up to have the meetings earlier because, Jesus, like, you wouldn't sleep at all. Do you know what I mean?
Genuinely.
We jump out of your skin by the end of the meeting.
You'd nearly play the game then, do you know? But
Mark, we were the exact same. We moved our meetings to 2 days before.
yeah.
Honestly, to Fridays, because lads would be coming out and you'd fucking nearly crash the car driving home. You're like shaking. But on that point, and I'm glad you asked it, right? Because a bit of crack, obviously, picking this team and some brilliant players. But we were chatting earlier because it's fucking impossible, lads. The 15 guys, whoever Mark settles on, whoever it is, are legends of the game. We've left out about, not counting myself and Jimmy, probably 100 legends of
You must be the only fellow who calls him Jimmy. Jesus, I've never heard it before in my life.
the dub thing.
Fucking hell.
But genuinely, for the players that are Aidan O'Mahony's one, Alan Brogan laughing, Rory O'Carroll, these guys, like, I didn't have Dara in. Over the last 23 years, both our counties, there's some incredible players, unbelievable players, and the tradition that both our teams have against each other. It's probably why there's a big crowd here tonight, and this started 50 years ago with Dublin and Micko and Heffo. We were always very conscious of playing Kerry, what it meant, what it represented, and we would have been the most unemotional team in the history of the fucking GAA. We didn't go in for any of that stuff, but we knew what it meant representing Dublin and playing Kerry. And the guys that whoever Mark decides to pick, or you guys pick, just to be a part of it for us is a privilege. To be here tonight as a dub with all the Kerry lads, from my own point of view, I was delighted to be here as well. But the players over the last 23 years, the success you guys had in the noughties, we had in the teens, and it's got to go on for decades and decades and decades. And what a brilliant thing to be a part of, I think. So
We actually have a text in here from Kieran Donaghy.
fuck. Block that, delete that.
Make it 26.
He doesn't
Tommy.
talk much. What's he to say now?
Make it 26 or there'll be war altogether. So, Mark, let's have a look at Paddy's team one more time.
Oh, jeez.
Can you make a couple of changes for me? And we're vetoing you switching yourself out from 2.
No,
That's
Mark
what-
is in.
No,
Yeah.
no.
No, yeah.
That's happened.
I'd have Tom O'Sullivan. I'd have Tom in at cornerback. Thought he was like Tom used to kind of tune out a lot. Like he used to like to go for a few pints in Rapmore and places like that. But when he was tuned in, by God, he was like. You see the thing about Tom that he had it over. He had it over me. He had it over anyone else. Was just his pace. He could start behind his man, and by the time the ball would get in, he'd be out ahead of his man. Like just
That was
phenomenal.
like me, Mark, and Darren O'Sullivan that time.
What's that?
That was like me, Mark, and Darren O'Sullivan that time. Can't beat
Yeah.
raw pace.
Tom, yeah. So I'd have Tom in the corner.
Are we settling on the half back line? Because we don't have much time here, so I'm going to move you on to the
We'll
half
settle on the half back line.
Tomas, are we going with...
No, we're
Keane
not going with
Sullivan or
Keane
James
O'Sullivan.
McCarthy?
No.
Where's Mark's team? Is Mark's
No,
team?
no.
No.
No,
We're gonna do it here.
we'll go with Tomas. We'll go with James McCarthy, and we'll go with Jack McCaffrey.
Okay.
Again, I'll go with James McCarthy. He's versatile. Tommy Walsh went in full forward. Was it the drawing or the replay? James McCarthy was able to go back, follow him back. It just showed how much they were
19.
worried about him in 19. So I'd have James centre. Look, he's 8 All-Ireland medals. What can you say? Jack McCaffrey's back. He hasn't lost any of the pace that he had. Phenomenal player. I'd have Dara and Brian Fenton. You must have been cuckoo putting James McCarthy midfield ahead of Dara. I'd have the half forward line.
Is Dara
I
here
move on.
tonight now? Am I safe? Don't know.
You're lucky he's not here, I'll tell you that. The half forward line, okay, Maurice Fitz retired in 0-1, so for me, he was, and I include anyone in this, the most skillful footballer I've ever seen in my life. Any man that can kick a ball 45 yards out off the right and the left.
He was still the most skillful when he was selector in 2016. I swear to God, honestly, he was kicking sideline.
Were we all in Thurles that day? Were you on the squad? You weren't on the squad, were you?
Actually, funny enough, I was sitting with my
behind
dad, God be good to him, and I was on the training panel, and there was only 24 on the panel at that stage, and Tomas nearly put sending Connell into the stand, and he was sent off, and
kick you.
for the first, my father was very upset about the whole thing, and I was upset for a minute or so, and then I said, Jesus Christ, this is my chance now, I'll be in for the All-Ireland semi-final. And I got in for the All-Ireland semi-final against Meath. Jesus,
That went well.
What a baptism of fire. No, I wasn't playing, I was on the bench. But,
Hospital class,
it
lads.
was,
The white jerseys, isn't it?
I think actually Tom O'Sullivan broke his draw the same day. Tomas
Were you on the squad in Thurles for the game? Or were you in the
wasn't
stand?
on the squad. I wasn't on the official 24.
My brother was the fucking sap standing in front of Maurice Fitz waving it. For the sideline. I was like, we were just giving him the fucking runway for the point.
He gave a lovely line.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
but I
but-
remember I was at it. That's what an incredible.
Incredible. And again, Paddy, you go back to like a full stadium. That was a full stadium. Do you know what I mean? An incredible
Thurles,
occasion.
2 weekends.
But look, I suppose we can't have Morris in there for the simple fact that he had a cameo role with Kerry in 0-1. 0-0, he had a huge role coming off the bench, and it was a huge
Yarmag goal.
controversy. Yeah, a huge
Yarmag
controversy in Kerry that he wasn't starting that year. And so look, I left him out.
So your half forward line.
Half hour. Declan has to be on.
Declan's in, yeah.
Who's 10? Sorry, who's 10? Because I missed that.
Galvin Connolly.
I'd have to. I'm gonna go with Galvin. I had Connolly in initially. I'm gonna take him out, and I'm gonna put.
Shambles, like.
I'm gonna put Kilkenny in
Okay. Why is that?
because I think Kilkenny is just like I go back to it longevity. Connolly was in and out. Of course, Connolly had more skill, what he could do with the ball. But I mean, I'm talking about a game that if you want to take to the field with a team that's going to win the game for you, you watch every single part of Kilkenny's game. He's just phenomenal. He's an incredible player, and you have to have flexibility
Mark,
with your team.
I forget what year. I think it might have been 16. The year of Goff. Do you remember when Peter Crowley?
great
got
ref.
the-
Blame
Great ref.
the ref. You always blame the ref.
I blame Goff.
Kev nearly killed Peter Crowley in the
He
last.
literally
Yeah,
nearly
fairness,
kicked her out.
yeah.
But
Off the top rope.
we had meetings about Connolly that year about how to stop him, and he got 10 shots off from play.
The point he got off the
No, he
left.
didn't. He didn't score 10, but to actually put yourself in a position to kick 10 shots, like even if you missed 3 or 4 there, to keep kicking.
Lads,
Like I just
lads,
thought he's
our team,
unbelievable.
right, for 15 years, and we'll have some of the best players that ever played the game in that team. Every single one of us, Clucko, Burno, Macker, any of the best lads, Dermo was like, we were in awe of watching them train.
But you left him out.
Talent-wise.
You left him out.
Yeah, for exactly what Mark is saying. Genuinely, because
Are you happy?
it wasn't as consistent. He only won 2 All-Stars. And it was like,
I
the
go-
talent he had, you could hang your hat on Flynn and Kilkenny more. For pure skill, Connolly was.
I think what Galvin did
Incredible.
in 09, after the year that he had in 08, he was captain of Kerry. My God, like if anyone knows Paul Galvin, they know how passionate he is. He's an incredible character. To have that taken away from him, it was huge for him. He comes back in 2009 and he wins Footballer of the Year. And in my view, he actually played better in 2010.
Yeah.
The games, he came off the bench in both the draw and the replay, Cork, in Killarney and Páirc Uí Chaoimh. My God, the kicking.
That was actually the most unbelievable performance.
He was-
came
he
on.
was- he was
in
incredible
he
in
came on
those
the first
games.
half in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Yeah,
Kerry and
no.
Cork were so tight, and he won every break and kicked past every possession. It was
Unfortunately, he left his
unbelievable.
finger inside Noam Cadigan's mouth, which meant
That was
he was out for
that
the
was
quarter
that was
final.
an accident. An accidental
Yeah,
finger.
yeah. So he himself and Tomas are missing for the quarter final. But yeah, I go
But
with
even
Galvin.
the way he riled up the Cork crowd.
Oh, yeah.
The Cork
he
crowd
was
weren't fans,
just-
weren't they?
He was
Noel
incredible.
O'Leary.
And of all
Noel
the-
O'Leary and
Yeah.
Galvin, yeah.
Of all the strong characters you had back then, was he one of the standard setters?
He would be, yeah. I mean, we played Armagh 0-6, and like, you know, when you had a fella like Paul, I remember like Kieran McGeaney was out in the middle of the field that day. Big, strong man, Kieran McGeaney. Galvin went out there. He was actually manhandling. Galvin used to, you know, he used to be at home watching the TV. He'd have arm weights in his hand, and you might laugh, but like he was ahead of his time. And the reason, I don't know which one of you said it, he was the best man to win a break. He'd go in there with his arms, and he'd actually pull the ball from you, like he'd snatch it from you. And you know, he was just incredible at what he did off the field.
Do you know what Calvin used to do in the dressing room? Do you remember? Before the game, we weren't big into weights at the time. It must have been 2010, 2011. He put Mike Quirk on his back and squat him. I swear to God, he do a set, he do a set of 8, and Mike could tap him and go, "Good set, good set."
He's had enough. Wrap
least-
this up. This is the sending it the first.
At least Mike Kirk was good for something. But anyway, going back to going back to
We're going to have to wrap this up, lads.
yeah,
There's a lawsuit coming in.
he was phenomenal. Just a quick one before we go.
Great man.
Yes.
Pat the Bag asked myself and Galvin to go up and get just go up to O'Neill's and pick out a bit of gear for the championship ahead. So
What year is this?
this was the year Paul was captain, so I said I'd tag along, and
Jesus Christ.
we went up. But the week previous, I had been in Dublin with my uncle Paddy. He brought me into a beautiful steakhouse. Jesus Christ! But anyway, we went up anyway, and we went in and we picked out. So Paddy Russell, the referee, Paul threw the notebook out of Paddy's hand. So it was only myself in the bag going up to Dublin. Paul was gone for the year. Up we went anyway. We did our business on the Long Mile Road in O'Neill's. We had a bit of time to kill before the plane down. The bag says, we'll go into town, we'll get a bit of lunch. She says, do you know any good place? She said, yeah, I've one good place there we could go to. So in we go to Shanahan's on the Green. It's a 5-star steakhouse. In we went anywhere for lunch. 2 steaks cost €60 each anyway. So I tell you, we had a good day out in Dublin anyway, and we got our flight down and our bellies were full. But County Board picked up that tab, thanks be to God.
Full forward line, Mark, before we wrap.
Well, look, I mentioned that at the start. Gooch is nailed on.
And just to mention, we've left off Footballer of the Year, Michael Darragh Macaulay. Hasn't got much of a mention. Footballer of the Year, Alan Brogan, who you gave a bit of a slag into earlier. And I think he's still WhatsApping you there. And a Footballer of the Year beside you here in James.
In all joke, we're joking here tonight with lots of things, but can I just say about Alan Brogan, there was a few years there where he was absolutely unmarkable, and like if you went out, I remember Jack O'Connor told me one year, he says, you keep this fella to 3 points, he says, you've a good day's work done. You know, he was just electrifying, he was fearless, fantastic footballer.
Mark, he was Dublin's best forward for 5 years straight when
Yeah.
he didn't have fucking anyone else. And it was just timing, genuinely. And we had it with Kieran Whelan as well, who had a brilliant career and was so important to Dublin in tough times. I was blessed to be part of a team. At the time, it was working. Alan was there in the noughties with Pillar, and he was the fucking only man, really, at the highest quality. And I was delighted for him, obviously, in 11, winning the All-Ireland. And his last kick with Dublin, last ever kick, was 15 into the hill against Kerry.
Oh yeah,
Unbelievable.
Great score. And like he got that ball, we talk about great scores. Michael Donnellan
In his
won in
21.
98.
In his 21, yeah.
Yeah, Michael Donnellan's won in 98 where he gets the ball down the 21. He goes all the way up the other end. But that point, and it, you know...
I was fucked. We had to send the stretcher out from about an hour later. He was fucking gasping still. I was like, Alan, come on, we're going for a pint. Like.
Yeah.
But imagine what a fitting end for a Dublin legend. That was his last thing to do for the Dublin.
Yeah,
I'm
unbelievable.
surprised he didn't go pure Dublin and drop it short and get a flick into the net.
We planned them. That was our plan.
I go with Berno full forward.
Yeah.
Or David Clifford full forward. Sorry, and Berno in the corner.
And Gooch the other side. Perfect.
Gooch the other side.
Are we all in agreement? You,
So I
you
think
Donny here.
that was 9. Is it 9-6
Yeah.
Kerry? Is it?
9-6 Kerry. I'll double check it now after the show. This debate can continue in the pubs at Killarney over the next little while. I just want to thank the Great Southern Hotel here. It's been great, a great venue. I want to thank you all for coming out today. It's been fantastic to have the show here down in Killarney. James, your homecoming. We got here eventually.